Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jananan Yashodanandana Braja Jananan Yatiravanachari Tiravanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jananan Yashodanandana Braja Jananan Yamiravanachari Shiravanachari Adhavanava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radha Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gaur-Nitai 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 Jaya Gaur Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शता श्री ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर जी की जय। श्री श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna and welcome everybody to this evening session of Srimad Bhagavatam. As all of you are aware, all the devotees around the world are going through one of the saddest moments of their life at the moment, with the leaving or passing away or leaving this planet of one of the most trusted and the foremost commanders of Srila Prabhupada, none other than His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. As we are aware, he left this planet a couple of days back, and there are memorial programs going all over the world, more so in Auckland, in various places. And we will have a formal memorial program this coming Saturday at the temple. So this is a time to think about the instructions and what we could do to actually please such an elevated Vaishnava who has just left our midst. But as it is said, Vaishnavas, they continue to live forever in the medium or through the medium of their instructions, not only for their disciples, but for all well-wishers and devotees. So on this occasion, it is a moment that we should spend and think in what we could actually do to please His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And something that comes to mind is while he was here in Auckland on a few occasions, he obviously emphasized the need for preaching this Krishna conscious movement. Even in his last couple of videos that was posted around the world, Maharaj emphasized on the fact that preaching is very important. And it is only through this medium that we can actually help in this mission of Srila Prabhupada. And what better form of preaching than spreading the glories and lesson from Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam. So today's Srimad Bhagavatam class, we would like to dedicate to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So we started in the last session on a new pastime, and that was the life and pastimes of one of the glorious monarchs of this universe, and that was Bharat Maharaj, the foremost son of Rishabdev. So we saw how he ruled this universe and how all the citizens were extremely happy, and after having a very elaborate life of sense gratification, of all the enjoyments that one could think of, he eventually gave up everything when he realized he has come to the end of his enjoyment. And he handed over his kingdom and went to the forest to pursue the actual ultimate goal of this human existence, and that is to engage in the devotional service of the Lord full fledged. So he left his family, who he was very attached to, and he went to the forest and performed austerities, started advancing in his devotional service until he came across this baby deer who was just born. And out of compassion to take care of this deer, owing to the deer losing its mother just when it was born and being helpless, Bharat Maharaj had this compassion and he wanted to take care of this baby deer, protect it from the dangerous animals, just like any living entity would feel for another one. But as a result of that compassion, he also developed a deep attachment subconsciously. And that started affecting his own devotional life, his own sadhana. So much so that the acharyas say that Bharat Maharaj had reached almost to the level of bhav. He had reached the bhav stage. So there was just one more step to take him to the perfection of devotional service. So at that stage itself, he got attached to this baby deer. And that attachment for him proved extremely fatal for his devotional life. So we heard last time how just before he was giving up his body, because he was so overly attached to this baby deer, before he gave up his body, he was constantly meditating and thinking about the deer because he couldn't see this deer just as he was about to, just before he was about to die. And when he was just giving up his body, he just happened to see the deer in front of him, and he gave up his body with complete absorption in the deer. And as a result, we saw that his next birth, he got the body of a, lo and behold, a deer. So I'll just recap on the lessons that we learned last time from that particular aspect of that pastime. So first lesson we had learned was that we come with a glorious lineage. So it is our responsibility to live up to that lineage, to live up to that reputation. It comes with a big responsibility. And we discussed how being followers of Srila Prabhupada brings us this big responsibility of fulfilling his mission and being extremely dear to the Supreme Lord and progressing in our own devotional service. Second was that there is an appropriate time to reduce or minimize material enjoyment. Everybody is born in this material world and has the propensity to enjoy. But a wise person, through the eyes of the Shastra, knows what is the right time to reduce or minimize sense gratification, material activities, and focus more on the ultimate goal of human life, which is to focus on devotional activities. Third, spiritual life is extremely simple, provided we are surrendered and we follow all the regulations correctly. And we do not let any distraction or any attachment come in between us and our sadhana. Rupa Goswami says very clearly that whatever is helpful in devotional service, whatever is helpful in making us progress in devotional service, being more attached to devotional service, those activities we must increase. And any activity or environment that is not conducive to increasing our devotional service, we should minimize or completely avoid. So it was the third one. The fourth was that ultimately a devotee feels compassion, has a soft heart, right? But he has a soft heart not just for the material welfare of somebody, but for that living entity's spiritual upliftment. Because he knows that is the ultimate goal or ultimate benefit that that living entity can get is by spiritual upliftment. So devotee is always looking for opportunities to educate people in general so that they are able to progress spiritually and uplift their own existence in this material world. So there were 4 points we got. So what happens after that? As he said, he got the body of a deer. So when he got the body of a deer, he had, by Krishna's mercy, he got complete remembrance. He did not forget his past activities. Just like, when a living entity dies and takes birth again, he forgets all the activities of his past life. This is standard practice. But in certain cases, where somebody has performed devotional service but has not been able to achieve perfection or achieve the ultimate goal, the Lord shows special mercy. So, because of the Lord's special mercy, he was given another opportunity. Why? Because he had come to the level of bhava. Imagine in a cricket match, somebody, like a batsman, and he's playing very well. He's scoring runs very nicely, and he comes to the score of 99. And then there is this stress that is generated within him and in the audience who are watching him play, that when he would hit another run or get some another set of runs to reach the magical figure of 100, because 100 is considered like a benchmark. It's a figure that everybody aspires for. It's a century. His name would be in the records if he achieves that. So 100, he's in the records, but just one number short, 99, nobody recognizes. In fact, he's criticized and condemned that, oh, he couldn't even play well just to score one more run and get that century, right? So being out in at 99 is a fatal mistake. Similarly, Bharat Maharaj, he reached the level of bhava, which is like the 99 runs in cricket. Obviously, reaching 99 also is not a mean job, but reaching 99 and not achieving 100 is considered pretty critically. So similarly, when a devotee reaches the stage of bhava but somehow doesn't go to prem, it is considered extremely unfortunate. So although he reached the level of bhava, Krishna, he saw his efforts and he gave him another opportunity to rectify the mistake that he made, the negligence that he showed in his sadhana, in his own devotional life. And as a result of that mercy, he could remember all the incidents of his past life. So he, after being born, he detached himself completely from his family life. So he gave up his mother and he left that place, knowing fully well that he would like to avoid any kind of attachment to family life. So he knew how his attachment was extremely fatal. And at the last moment, he fell down and could not achieve perfection. So he had 4 thoughts, and he understood, he recollected the past events, and he came to these 4 conclusions. First, he knew that his fall down, or so-called not achieving perfection as Bharat Maharaj, was due to his own fault. What would we do? If we do not achieve perfection after reaching that level, we would blame it on, oh, I was just there, if you would have just helped me, I would have achieved it, Krishna, you should have. Right? We have that propensity, perhaps not at that level, but one tends to have that propensity. But Bharat Maharaj, although he was attached to the deer out of compassion and not just for any other reason, he took the entire responsibility on himself and told himself or said or decided amongst himself is that he fell because of his own personal neglect of his own spiritual life, and he needs to rectify it. That's number one. Second is, he understood that he has been given this body of a deer due to excessive attachment to a deer. So he has got this because he was absorbed in thoughts of the deer, exactly as per the 8th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever thoughts one is absorbed in at the time of death, that body one gets. So he got the body of a deer. So he understood that very clearly. Third, he understood that although he got the body of a deer, he could still recollect all the activities, all the thoughts of his past life as Bharat Maharaj, even though he had a body of a deer. So he had clear remembrances. Just like Gajendra, we saw in the Gajendra lila. He had the remembrances of his past life when because he was engaging in devotional service and offering prayers. He remembered those prayers. And the fourth thing is that he saw that as an opportunity that the devotional service that was left incomplete would be revived again. Could be revived again by giving by the other chance, by the another chance that the Lord has given him. So he wanted to make the most of this opportunity. And that is very important. The Lord never deserts his devotees. But as devotees of the Lord, we should always look out for these opportunities that the Lord gives us and not waste them. Don't wait for multiple opportunities. The earliest opportunity we get, we must latch onto it. So he, as we said, remembered his past activities, was extremely repentant of what he had done. So to avoid any such foolishness, any such attachment, he left his mother. And he knew that where should I go? He decided that I should go to a place where I will not only not get attached to any material things. I would like to get attached to spiritual activities. I would like to get attached to saintly people who are engaging in devotional service so that I remain on that path and I don't get deviated in any particular way. So he went back to the ashram of Pulaha and Pulaste Rishi, where he was actually living as Bharat Maharaj. So in the body of the deer, he went back to the same ashram. And there, he was extremely alert in falling in any form of bad association. He was very careful who he was interacting with, who he was dealing with all the time. And he also did not disclose his past life to anybody. Sometimes, in our life also, when we are repentant or when we are very happy about something that we've done in the past, we start to share it very generously with people around us. So he did not want to do that because you just don't know what kind of people you are dealing with and what is their consciousness when they hear about these particular incidents. So he specifically did not mention this to anybody. So while he was in that ashram, obviously, if he is in the association and in the ashram of saintly people, what does he hear all the time? He's constantly hearing the names of the Lord. He's constantly hearing or seeing sacrifices, seeing worship, seeing chanting of the holy name, hearing chanting of the holy name, and continuing his spiritual journey from where he had left in his past life. And while he was doing this, all he was awaiting for is his own death. That when he will give up his body. I remember there was a devotee who suddenly asked in one of his classes to the audience, who had mostly devotees. So he asked the audience, how many of you out there is willing to die? So people were like, "Ooh, I mean, who wants to die?" So people were not raising their hands, and some people were thinking, they were kind of trying to do this, but not very sure what was the question and whether they should say yes or no. And then he said, "Well, if you don't want to die, that means you don't want to progress in your spiritual life, or you don't want to go back to Godhead. Because until you give up this material body, you cannot progress further. You cannot go to your next destination, wherever it is. So death is actually moving on to the next destination for a devotee, wherever it might be. Where we go after that is dependent on many factors, on our level of devotional service, mercy of devotees and Krishna. But at the end of the day, we have to give up this material body. So as in the body of this deer, Bharat Maharaj was eagerly awaiting that moment when he'll be able to give up his material body of a deer and make progress. So while he was waiting for that, he wanted to completely purify his existence, although he was just in the body of a deer. So he used to regularly take a bath in the river, just like he used to do when he was Bharat Maharaj. And he subsisted on just dried leaves, just to keep his body together till he's alive, or he has this body. And when death eventually came in this body of this deer, he was praying. He, just before leaving his body, he offered his obeisances to the Supreme Lord. And he prayed, hoping to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord eternally. And that is also a prayer that all devotees constantly ask the Supreme Lord for. We cannot be desireless. So as we hear from scriptures in Bhagavad Gita, we cannot be desireless. But what is considered desireless is that we do not have any material desires. Our desires are directed towards spiritual ends. We need to spiritualize our desires. So the desire is not for getting more opulence in this material world, but the desire is for engaging in the Lord's service. Doesn't matter where he keeps us. Doesn't matter where he takes us. As long as he keeps us in his devotional service, in the association of devotees. That is a key word. So this was the same prayer that Bharat Maharaj in the body of the deer asked Krishna. And then, while giving up his body, he was completely absorbed in devotional service. And because he was completely absorbed in the devotional service of the Lord, he gave up his body, and then at the end of that life, he was given another body. No, he didn't go back to Godhead, but he was given another body. And this time, he got the body of a pure Brahmana. He was born in a Brahmana family who was a descendant of the great sage Angira Muni. So we hear that if somebody, in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna that what is the fate of an unsuccessful yogi who somehow is not able to complete his devotional service and attain perfection. What is the destination of such transcendentalists? So Krishna says that such people who are engaging in devotional service, if they are engaging in devotional service for a short period of time, they are just freshers, then they are given a place in the heavenly planet to enjoy more opulences. And thereafter, they are born in the family of Shuchi or Srimanta. So either they are born in the family of pure Brahmanas, or they are born in a very aristocratic, opulent family. So that in both instances, they are given ample opportunities to intensify their devotional service compared to what they did in their past life. So in this case, Bharat Maharaj was given the body of a Brahmana. And a very pious Brahmana family was engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. So from the very beginning of this so-called third body. I mean, he was Bharat Maharaj, then he took the body of a deer, and now he was born as the son of a Brahmana. So from the very beginning, he had good qualifications. He used to take a lot of interest in studying the Vedas. He was extremely satisfied, tolerant, non-envious. All the qualities that we see of a Brahmana in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita were evident in Bharat Maharaj in the form of this Brahmana boy. So in this particular birth, Bharat Maharaj was called Jad Bharat. Jad Bharat. So he always engaged in devotional service of the Lord. So this Brahmana who had this quality, Jad Bharat was born to such a noble Brahmana, such a wonderful Brahmana who had all these wonderful qualities. So this Brahmana, he had a wife, he had two wives. So the first wife, from the first wife, she had 9 good qualified sons who were also Brahmanas. And from his second wife, he had a pair, twins. He had twins. One was a male and one was the female. So this male child was Jad Bharat. So even when he got this body as Jad Bharat, he could remember his past life as a deer, and he also remembered the past life as Bharat Maharaj. So in this life, as you can imagine, he was extremely, extremely afraid, in fact fearful of another fall down. Because now he's been given this human form of life. As a deer, yes, you can deviate a little bit, but because it's an animal life, you can only do so much. But in the human form of life, we have that minute independence to either engage in full devotional service or completely get involved with material activities. So knowing fully well, he decided that this life he is not going to take any chance whatsoever. He had very good qualities, both spiritually and materially. It is said that Jad Bharat was extremely powerful, very muscular, stout, strong physically, and spiritually he was always constantly absorbed in the devotional service of the Lord. But he knew that when people have these qualities in this material world, other people they glorify. And when a lot of people glorify you, what happens? A lot of people also criticize you, pull you down, become your enemies. And it could also happen that he might get attached to either his friends or his enemies. So he didn't want to take any chance. He already knew he had a fatal attachment. So he decided that he is going to behave and act like a madman externally. Internally, he was completely absorbed in the Supreme Lord. But externally, he behaved like a madman who just didn't know the ways of the world, who did not understand good instructions. He was just on his own. So he behaved like a bad madman, dull, very lazy, very just like a blind and deaf man, just existing. So although he exhibited such qualities, his father, the Brahmana, he was extremely affectionate towards Jad Bharat. So Jad Bharat, by behaving like a dumb and deaf man, he was giving an indication that actually he is not really fit to enter into the Grihastha life. In spite of that, his father, the Brahmana, executed all the samskaras that need to be executed in a Brahmana family. He educated him, taught him the Vedas. But Jad Bharat, although he understood the purport of the Vedas, he deliberately behaved like a fool, as if he could not understand anything. So there's an example given of how his father was lovingly trying to train him and give him instructions to follow. Although Jadabharat understood them very well, he deliberately, did not follow the instructions properly, or did them just the opposite way, to prove to everybody that he's actually a fool. So the example given is, one of the examples is that the Brahmana instructed him that, see, after passing stool, you need to wash your hands. What did Jad Bharat do? He used to first wash his hands and then go and pass stool, as if he doesn't understand at all. It's like a challenged, mentally challenged person. So his father was obviously not very happy that his son is not taking this up. Nevertheless, he did not. His affection did not reduce. He still loved him very much, and he was still attached to Jadabharat. And like every parent, he hoped that one day Jadabharat would take seriously to study of the Vedas and follow this in his own life. So he was still trying to train Jadabharat to the best of his ability. Eventually, one fine day, the Brahmana was face to face with death. So he gave up his body. Sometimes we saw, even in the body of Bharat Maharaj, death just came at this own time. He was so attached, he could not prepare for that. So in our lives as well, we are never prepared for death. And passing away of these Vaishnavas actually remind us to rekindle or to rethink our current life and our current priorities in life, and where we are placed in devotional service. Death can come anytime. Specifically in today's society, where we are going through such uncertain times, people are full of fear of death, fear of getting infected, fear of losing jobs. There's so much more happening. All the more time for us to absorb ourselves in scriptures, to understand their purports, and to start implementing them in our life, so that we are able to lead a life that will ultimately lead us to the spiritual perfection. So the Brahmana gave up his life, he gave up his body, and he was left with those two wives. So this younger wife, she decided to accompany him to the funeral pyre, and she gave the charge of her twins, Jadabharat and his sister, to the elder wife, who also had 9 children. So the elder wife now was looking after 11 children. And when the brothers saw that this person, this Jadabharat, is just a dull person, and he's good for nothing, they just started treating him very badly. What did Jadabharat do after that? How did he leave them? Did he go and do spiritual practices? Or was he there in this material world with his family, going through all these problems that he faced after his Brahmana father passed away? So we'll see the details of that particular aspect of Jadabharat's life in our next class. Same day, same time, next week. Before we finish, I would like to touch upon 2 important lessons that we could catch from whatever we have covered today. So 2 important lessons that we can catch, or we can absorb ourselves in. First one, we are somehow extremely fortunate to have been given the path of devotional service, to somehow engage in this process given by Srila Prabhupada. And in this path, we may commit mistakes, we may commit errors, we may even be lazy, and we may not be able to achieve perfection. But the Lord, the Supreme Lord, specifically along with his empowered representatives like Srila Prabhupada, the Lord always gives us another chance. As long as we are sincere in our purpose, the Lord always gives us another chance. But when the Lord gives another chance, we should not take it lightly. We should be extremely serious and consider that as our last chance and sincerely start off and intensify our devotional service. So, the first point, the Lord always gives another chance. It is our duty to latch onto it and make full use of that opportunity to please the Lord. Number two, when we are given another chance, the first thing we need to do is we need to sincerely repent. Sincerely repent what? Repent our mistakes that we have made to not be able to achieve perfection in the past opportunity that we were given. So we have to repent that we have not done our best. And with that mood, we must prioritize our activities at that point of time to focus more on intensifying our devotional service in a bid to please the Lord. At least we must develop the desire to intensify our devotional service wherever, in whatever situation we are. So, first, we get another opportunity. Second, when we get another opportunity, we must intensify our devotional service. So, the fact that we have got the shelter of Srila Prabhupada, we have got the association of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, well wishers, second, third generation disciples, is an opportunity. It is an opportunity we all have got. And when we have got that opportunity, we must take it up. Sometimes devotees they go out and preach to people, and people they understand the importance of devotional service, but somehow or the other they are not able to engage in devotional service. They are not able to intensify that devotional service, and that's where association is critical. Just like the deer, it left its mother just to go back to Pulaste Muni's ashram. Why? Association. Association is the key. Even if we are not very serious, even if something is stopping us, if we associate with serious practitioners of Bhakti Yoga, one fine day we will become like them. And that is the actual secret of success in spiritual life. Bharat Maharaj ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur. Thank you very much. And as mentioned, we would like to dedicate this episode of Srimad Bhagavatam to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.